On the 13th of February, 2020, at around 9 a.m. in the morning, an international task team consisting of the United States Drug Enforcement Agency, Interpol, and the Brazilian Federal Police conducted an international sting operation in the country of Mozambique, in Africa. The team was heading to a luxury hotel called the Montebello Indy, which was located in Maputo, the capital city of Mozambique. On that day, there were over 20 law enforcement officers from 4 different countries, including the Mozambican local police. They were all heavily armed with semi-automatic weapons, full-body protective suits, and also raid equipment. Inside the Montebello Indy Hotel, the task team was looking for a Brazilian man named Gilberto dos Santos, who's popularly known as Fuminho. At that time, Fuminho was amongst one of the most wanted men in Latin America. The Brazilian Federal Police had even issued an international arrest warrant for him 2 years before, in 2018. He was being accused of running one of the biggest cocaine smuggling organizations in the world. Fuminho was also wanted for ordering the assassination of 2 male individuals in Brazil, in February 2018. The international task team was well informed of how dangerous Fuminho was prior to their mission. They were also told to prepare themselves for anything. When they arrived at the hotel, the task team found Fuminho, along with 2 Nigerian males, sitting on the couch and watching TV. Before he even had the chance to retaliate, the task team quickly grabbed him, put him on his knees, and handcuffed him, along with his 2 Nigerian friends. Inside the hotel room Fuminho was staying in, police found a fake Brazilian passport, large quantities of cannabis, 15 cell phones, and also $800 cash, which was in both Mozambican and South African currency.
As autoridades brasileiras como o maior fornecedor de cocaína a uma organização criminosa designada Primeiro Comando da Capital, PCC, com milhares de membros no Brasil e países vizinhos.
Alguma coisa? Eu não tenho nada a declarar, não. Vai, fala com o meu advogado.
Onde está todo?
Quanto vocês vão cobrar para mim falar aí? Não tenho nada a falar para vocês, não. Fala com o meu advogado. Não, não conheço. Não conheço ninguém. Vista não.
Foragido de uma cadeia brasileira desde 1999, Fuminho estava na companhia de um compatriota e de um nigeriano quando foi detido. Ele será oportunamente extraditado.
On the 19th of February 2020, 5 days after he was arrested, Fuminho was sent back home to Brazil, on the country's Air Force plane, that left Maputo at 1:30 a.m. in the morning. Upon arriving, he was sent straight to federal prison. The Brazilian Federal Police had, according to reports, been hunting for Fuminho for over 20 years. His name in Brazilian government documents is connected to a number of criminal charges related to mass cocaine trafficking, terrorism, an attempted prison break, and also weapons trafficking. The Brazilian government is also linking him to one of the world's most powerful criminal gangs, the Primeiro Comando Capital, or PCC, a Brazilian-based drug trafficking organization. The PCC is a Brazilian organized crime syndicate which specializes in the trafficking of cocaine. According to a 2023 report done by The Economist, the organization is labeled as South America's biggest drug trafficking gang, with an estimated membership of 40,000 members, plus 60,000 independent contractors. The group is based in the Brazilian state of São Paulo, and it is active throughout the whole country, and also in other continents, such as in Africa and in Europe. The organization's worldwide expansion, which is primarily driven by the booming cocaine trade, is believed to have made the PCC establish a highly lucrative partnership with Ndrangheta, the largest mafia organization in Europe. As a result, over 50% of Brazil's drug sales to Europe are commanded by the PCC. Through the cocaine trade routes to Europe, the PCC has also established itself as a central player in the African cocaine market, with its members being able to take control of neighborhoods in cities such as Lagos and Maputo. In the past, the PCC has been involved in a number of criminal activities such as murders, prison riots, drug trafficking, bank and highway robberies, money laundering, and also kidnappings for ransom. As of 2023, it is reported that the organization is currently transitioning into a global mafia, being able to influence governments and also penetrate the legal system. According to Brazilian authorities, the group has had a yearly revenue of at least $1 billion since 2020. The PCC was founded on the 31st of August 1993 by 8 prisoners at the Top 8 Penitentiary in Sao Paulo. At the time, this was considered the safest prison in Brazil. In February 2001, a man named Idemir Carlos Ambrosio became the most prominent leader of the organization when he coordinated simultaneous rebellions in 29 Sao Paulo state prisons, in which 16 prisoners were killed. 5 months later, however, Carlos was beaten to death at the Top 8 Penitentiary by PCC members in an internal struggle for the general command of the group. After the death of Carlos, the organization would be led by 2 individuals, Gilberto and Cicinha, who were said to be responsible for the gang to make an alliance with another criminal organization, the Red Command. At the time, it is said that the gang adopted the Red Command's beliefs and began advocating for revolution and the destruction of the Brazilian government. Gilberto and Cicinha, from the Bangu prison where they were held, went on to coordinate violent attacks against public buildings. It is said that they used terrorism to intimidate authorities of the prison system. In November 2002, however, they were removed from the leadership of the gang. The leadership was taken over by the current leader of the organization, the notorious Marcos Williams Camacho. Camacho would eventually order the deaths of Gilberto and Cicinha for having testified to the police and for allegedly creating the Third Capital Command, a military wing of the organization. Under Camacho's leadership, the PCC is said to have expanded outside of prison walls and started to function as an increasingly sophisticated mafia-like criminal organization. Camacho is currently serving a 232-year sentence at a maximum prison in Brazil for robbery, drug trafficking, homicide, and forming a criminal organization. He began serving his prison sentence in the early 2000s. According to reports, his net worth is estimated to be over $20 million whilst behind bars, and he is considered to be one of the most powerful gang leaders in the world. Although it's unclear if he ever joined the PCC, Fuminho is said to have worked with Camacho since the early 1990s, when they were making money stealing cars and robbing banks. In 1999, around the time that Camacho was climbing up the ranks of the PCC, it is alleged that Fuminho escaped from the Caseta de Tensão prison in Brazil. After escaping, Fuminho fled the country. No one knew where he was, up until 2008 when he entered Bolivia, using a fake passport. In Bolivia, he spent at least a decade developing a base of operations to produce and smuggle huge amounts of cocaine in the country's Chaco region. Here, Fuminho was also able to train newly recruited PCC members and oversee the smuggling of guns to Brazil. In February 2014, Fuminho planned to free Camacho from the Presidente Venceslau, a super maximum prison outside of Sao Paulo. He had planned to use a helicopter painted with military colors to break him out. However, the Brazilian Federal Police discovered the plan and relocated Camacho and other PCC inmates to another prison. That same year, Fuminho came close to being arrested after Sao Paulo police broke up a money laundering scheme involving around 40 PCC members. One of them, a man named Wilson Oliveira Nino, fled to Fuminho's home, which is in Florida, in the United States. The Drug Enforcement Agency were on the verge of raiding the property when Fuminho and Nino ran away, and they boarded a plane to the country of Panama. Fuminho rose to second in command in early 2018, following the fall of several high-ranking PCC gang members. In February 2018, it is said that Fuminho arranged for the execution of 2 former leaders of the PCC, who according to him, were stealing money from the organization. Rogério Simone and Fabiano Souza were shot and killed by masked assassins in Sao Paulo, Brazil. After being shot, it is alleged that they both were lifted by a helicopter and their bodies burned in the Brazilian countryside. In the same month, Elton Rumage, a high-ranking member of the PCC, who helped oversee the transportation of guns and drugs through Bolivia and Paraguay, was arrested by the Brazilian Federal Police in Rio de Janeiro. According to Brazilian investigators, the arrest of Rumage secured Fuminho's position as the top free member of the PCC. During this time, Fuminho was officially added to the Brazilian National Wanted List, a list of the country's most wanted criminals. The National Wanted List, prepared by the Brazilian Ministry of Justice and Public Security, included people accused of serious or violent crimes, involvement with criminal organizations, and those wanted by Interpol. This came after the Brazilian ministry accused Fuminho of planning a second attempt to break Camacho out of prison. This, one official said, was to involve cutting power to the surrounding area, landing a helicopter at the prison gates, and flying Camacho to a local airstrip so he could be transferred to Bolivia. However, once prison officials learned of the plan, Camacho and other incarcerated PCC members were quickly relocated to other prisons. While all this was going on, the Brazilian government was having a difficult time pinpointing the exact location of Fuminho. It was discovered that he had left Bolivia, where he had a multi-million-dollar property, which was used to produce cocaine. Court records from Brazil, relating to a search and seizure action linked to his partner, showed that the Brazilian federal police later found out that Fuminho was on the run abroad, more precisely in South Africa, using false documents in the name of Luis Gomes. They showed that Fuminho arrived in South Africa in March 2018, and he bought a multi-million rand mansion in the city of Johannesburg. Whilst in South Africa, it is alleged that Fuminho was behind the shipment of tons of cocaine around the world. He only stayed 2 years in South Africa before being arrested in Mozambique. However, from the moment he arrived, there would be a huge cocaine boom in the country.